drag, let's push segue, or sorry, root view of this split view controller. Let's go find everything. Make some more space. There it is. Okay, so now we're going to do the exact same thing we did before. We got the photographers here, and we're going to have the maps here. So let's go see what that looks like at first. All right, is this working? Yes. Oh, wait, we're going to have to, sorry. We're going to have to stop here because we are going to crash because we changed our database schema. So let's get rid of that. Run again.
So how would you handle like an app upgrade when you change the schema?
Okay, so the question is, if I were in the real world and I had apps on the App Store here and I changed my schema and my users upgrade, how would I handle that? And the answer is, and we don't teach this because you know how it is, time constraints, but there's actually a mechanism for versioning your schema and then doing auto migration from previous versions, getting the data out of a previous version to the new schema. So you have to change your schema in a compatible way. Obviously you want to keep all your user information, but that migration can be automated. So it's pretty cool actually. So check it out in the core data documentation how to do it. All right, so here's our photographers. And if I click on a photographer, then awesome, I get the map, okay? And if I click on these, whoo, that works. This is just awesome, it works great. Let's try and show the photo. Uh-oh, why doesn't that work? Because it's doing perform segue here, okay? And we don't use a segue on the iPad. We just go find the image view controller in our detail and update it directly, right? So we have to do the same fix we did when we made this work on with the tables. We got to do the same thing with the map. So I'm going to go back to my map view controller right here, and I'm going to put a property in here that finds an image view controller in the detail of a split view I'm in, if there's one there. Okay, call this image view controller, and here's the property I'm going to add, right? So this property is going to be nil if I'm not in a split view controller where my detail is an image view controller, right? Otherwise, it's going to be that image view controller. You all recognize this code from our table view, right? Split view controller last object, that's our detail. If it's in a navigation controller, I'll look in to see if it's the root view controller, and then if it's a view controller, image view controller, I'll return it. Otherwise, nil. So on the iPhone, this is going to be nil, because it can't be a split view on the iPhone anyway, right? So this is cool. So now I know whether there is an image view controller. So I could do something, for example, when I'm doing that segue. Where's that segue? Right here, this perform segue. I could say, if I have an image view controller, then just update it directly. Otherwise, you can try this perform segue. By the way, there's really no way to try this perform segue without crashing. So you really got to know whether you're actually segueing. Okay? Luckily here, if I have an image view controller around, I know I'm not going to be segueing. And if I don't have an image view controller around, I probably do want to be segueing, because I got to show the photo somehow if I'm going to allow that little button to be there. So if I have the self image view controller here, I can just prepare it. So we've got the prepare controller. I'm going to prepare the image view controller. Segue is nil. The annotation, where's the annotation you want to show? Again, it's right here. Okay, view.annotation. Oops, oh, let's do that, don't I? Okay, so there's that. Okay, so I'm just going to prepare that image view controller if it's there. Otherwise, we'll segue. Everyone understand this? So let's go look at this, see how this works. All right, so let's look at some photos again. I don't know, let's find some photos like, I don't know who we got here. Just, I don't know. So we got this. We'll click this. Okay, we got this right here. If I click this little button, it worked. Okay, so it uses the thing. If I go over here somewhere else, let's do this one right here. Notice that that overlaps. I don't really like that UI very much, but is what it is. Okay, so that's kind of okay. This is kind of okay, this UI. It's really not that great though, because I'm showing that little thumbnail there, and then I click on it, I'm also showing the big one. Why don't I just not have the thumbnail, not have the little blue arrow, and every time I click on a pin, just show the photo? There's no reason not to just to show the photo. So how would I do that? So just forget this whole thing of that little blue area. Don't even need that blue arrow. Let's do that. Let's go up here to, this is where we build the left and right accessory views right here. So I'm going to say, if I don't have an image view controller, then go ahead and put those callouts in there. Otherwise, don't put them there. And then also, now that the callouts aren't there, this is never going to get called in here because there's no callout accessory if I have the image view controller. So let's go ahead and cut this out of here. And let's put that code in select. So here's where it's selected. So when it's selected, let's go ahead and use Control I here. Whoop. Oh, that didn't work. There. Control I. There we go. All right, so when the pin is selected, when we click on the pin, if I have an image view controller around, I'll just prepare it. Otherwise, I will update the callout accessory views and all that stuff, which I don't have if I have an image view controller. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, so now let's click again here. Let's find somebody who has multiple photos like this guy maybe. Okay, so let's click on one here, right? Automatically, as soon as I click on it, it's going to update the image view. Okay, so that's kind of cool. That's a nicer UI. I don't really need that thumbnail. I don't need the other stuff on there. So that's cool. One thing though that's a little weird on it is watch this. So now if I go here, okay, now I've got Dead Man Jones, his photos, but I've got somebody else's photo on the right. That's kind of weird. Okay, that's kind of bad UI. So let's make it so that every time we show the photos by a photographer, let's just auto pick one. Okay, how would we do that? Very simple. When we update our map view annotations here, I'm just going to auto select a photo, but only in the case where I have an image view controller lying around. If I have an image view controller lying around, then I'll auto select a photo. And how am I auto selecting? Well, I'm just grabbing the first object out of our photos by photographer array, okay? And if there's any in there, then I'm going to select that annotation. Okay, that causes the call out to appear. But it doesn't, when you select it with this, it doesn't call that did select method up here to get called. Okay, this method up here, did select annotation view, this only gets called when the user selects it. Okay, so the user didn't select it here, we selected it, so we still have to do that prepare ourselves. Okay, so let's take a look at that. All right, so let's pick somebody here, click on that, and you can see it auto-selected the scooter one. I pick something else. We'll go here, it auto-selects one, goes here into auto-selecting one. So now we're kind of all in sync between the two, between what's on the right and what's on the left. Okay, but if I click another one, it'll change it. Okay, so that's not bad UI. Kind of like it's kind of okay. But I'm going to show you another way to do this on the iPad to show you those embed segues. One could argue whether this is a better UI or the embedded one. You can kind of see them both and you can tell me what you think is better. But what I'm going to do is, you see where the sun is right there in that photo? I'm actually going to take this map view that's on the left and I'm going to embed it inside this image view. So that map view is going to be showing there. And so what we're going to see in this column is just the photographers. These will be photographers. Embedded where the sun is will be the map for whatever photographer we choose, and then we'll have our photo. And we'll still be able to zoom in our photo, zoom around. It'll be occluded, right? It'll be covered up, although maybe we could add a button somewhere that would hide that map and re-show it, a little bar next to the URL, because that map is just going to be a UI view in there. We can set it's .hidden. We could animate it transparency fading away, whatever we want it to do, because it's just going to be UI view. But the contents of that UI view are going to be the same contents that are in this map view over here, exactly the same. I'm going to use that exact same view controller. Okay, and this is, again, we're talking about view controller reuse. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. By the way, we notice we have warnings back in the code here. Why do we have this warning? That's because auto-selected photo is a photo star, and we don't import anything here that tells this code that a photo star is an MK annotation. Okay, so we have to go up here to where we import a photo, and instead import photo plus plus annotation. Okay, because this is the file in which we declared that photos were MK annotations. Everyone understand that? Okay, so you got to make sure you import whichever interface defines that. Okay, so how are we going to do this embed thing? Let's go over here to our iPad storyboard. All I'm going to do to start is to drag an embedded thing in here. So let's do that. This is a bit of a challenge when it comes to screen real estate. Let's go here. So the embedded thing, it's down towards the bottom. Here it is right here. You see it says container view defines a region of a view controller that it can include a child view controller. Okay, so I'm going to drag that into this view controller right here. This is our image view controller. So let's drag that in. Now when you drag this in, it's a bit of a pain in the neck to size this to where you want and all these things. But I'll show you another way when you have a big view like that you're dragging in and you want to place it somewhere to do it, which is to use the document outline. So here's the document outline. Here's my container. Notice it added it as a subview of my scroll view, but I don't want to scroll that map around. I want it to sit on top of the scroll view. I actually want the scroll view in the back and then the container view, and then we can do our activity indicator. So that's one thing I can do, is move it out from being a scroll view. And can anyone think of a way that I can place this container where I want? Magic word begins with an A? Down here? Yes, we can use auto layout, right? To specify exactly what we want. So let's fix its width and height. This is a case where we would want some magic numbers of width and height because we want to kind of decide how much of that view we want to occlude with the map, what the relative value is. And then let's also pin it to the top by the standard value, and then let's pin it over here to the right. So we're going to put it in the upper right-hand corner. And let's see what that looks like, first of all. And notice we have the little yellow thing here because we have a misplaced view. And so I'm going to go ahead and fix that misplacement. And now let's go look, see how this looks like. This doesn't quite look like I want because it's under this bar. I don't really want under this bar, so it's a standard width from the top, but not under this bar. The way you can, by the way, control whether things are under the bar is select your whole controller and inspect it. And you'll see down here there's extend edges. Okay? So if I say under top bars no, then it moves that container down. Now that created some auto layout things both for this little spinner guy and this, so let's fix those, right? Because we moved everything down a little bit, so those need to be put back relatively to where they should be. So that's a way to do it. Now, of course, now the image view is not under there, and I might want one and not the other, and we can certainly set our auto layout constraints to whatever we want, but I just wanted to show you this extend edges thing. Some of you discovered this when you were doing your homework number 4, but now you know. So, okay, one thing that happened through all of this, we got this container, is we have to specify what's in this container, and it actually put something on here. Okay, it's hard to see. Let's move it down. It actually put this. This is a generic UI view controller. If we inspect it, you can see it's a generic UI view controller. So this view controller self.view is going to appear in here. But I don't want this view controller self.view in here, so I'm going to delete that. Instead, I want this view controller's self.view, the map view controller, right? So how do I do that? This is a segue, control drag. So I'm control dragging from the container to here. Only option I'm going to have is embed because the source of this is the container. And now I've embedded that in there. Okay? I don't want this segue anymore because I don't want when I choose a photographer, I don't want to load this table up. So let's get rid of that.